Now, it's party time here on the evening show because a good friend of the show at this stage, David Whelan, and Elisabeth Ryan join me in studio for some wine and cheese. Thank you guys for coming in.
Hi.
And we have a little party festival here going on. So,
absolutely, it's all fun and celebration, so we have the perfect marriage and we're going to create something very dynamic on the screen, I hope. So I think the first one we're going to kick off with is a red wine that we're going to partner with the cheddar.
Yeah, well, we have it's a Gouda style cheese actually. It's a Coulet from Macroom in Cork, made by a guy called Dick Willems, a Dutch guy down there. And this is aged for about 2 years or so. I'm going to give you a little piece there.
Lots of cheese.
And this is great. I'm pouring the wine here without spilling it.
One for David.
Yes.
You can
definitely don't
break it off a little bit there.
A huge piece here. That's great. So let me pass you over a little bit of this particular wine. And the wine that I've actually chosen here is the George Wyndham Shiraz 2005. And the reason why I chose this wine is it's kind of a big gutsy Shiraz from South Australia. And the beauty of this wine is that it'll work well with turkey and it'll work well with all the Christmas foods. And that's why I want to select these particular wines. But it should also work well with the cheese because it's got quite a big structure to it. Because I think with this style of cheese, you do want a bit of tannin, a bit of grip in the wine. And this wine certainly has it.
This is fabulous wine. And the cheese is really a lot stronger than what I'd be most accustomed to.
It's quite, I mean, a lot of Goudas are very, very mild. This is quite fudgy and almost kind of even slightly tacky in the mouth. Just
even the texture really
it's lost so much water in the aging process, being kind of 2 years old, you know. You can buy this at 3 months and it's just really simple and kind of slightly sweet in flavour. But this one just really, it's amazing what, you know, and you can see what's actually happening to the cheese as it matures there. But you do need this really big wine to stand up to it.
You do, you want a bit of richness, because this wine has kind of lovely kind of blackberry spice, you know, it's a little bit of eucalypt going on there as well, which lends it, and I think the acidity refreshes the mouthfeel, so it works pretty well.
Party going on in my mouth now at this stage.
An explosion of flavours, and that's what it's all about. I say, and hopefully people approach it like we're now, just a bit of fun without getting too caught up in that.
Christmas people love to kind of get a bit of wine and a cheese and, you know, dips and chutneys, and just for a little dinner party, I think it's really nice.
I think it's fantastic, and I think the whole thing is not to get too stressed out and to experiment. And, you know, if I was giving this cheese and wine match a mark out of 10, I'd probably give it about 7. So it's not the most brilliant one, but it's a good one. But
it's a very strong cheese, and it's probably quite specific. You know, it might, even in the world of being absolutely perfect, pair really well with a really chunky kind of oaky Chardonnay. But again, I mean, I get people all the time saying, "Oh, I like this wine with this cheese," and I'd be kind of thinking that's not the best match in the world, but it's what you like. It's what, you know, it's what you enjoy. Yeah.
So shall we push on and see how we get on next?
Let's push on. Yes.
So we're going to do that.
I'm afraid the cheese is going to melt here.
Exactly. So we're riper, more and more enthusiastic. So we're going to actually have a white wine now, and sometimes people don't think of white wine with cheese, but a lot of the purists are saying this is really the most exciting option because it really refreshes the palate and it actually enhances the flavours of both the wine and the cheese. So. And
what wine does this cheese go with then?
Well, we're going to match this here with the Brie de Meaux. So Brie de Meaux is a raw cow's milk cheese made just outside Paris, and it's got a mould rind on it. Now, this is the real Brie, in the same way that I'm sure David has maybe talked to you in the past about AOCs with wines, where they have their own little designations. This has got its own AOC in France. And this is made, they have to, you know, the specific criteria they have to use to make the cheese. And it's quite different from what you'll buy as Brie a lot of the time. Brie de Meaux, AOC,
it's a lot stronger.
It's stronger. And this is really ripe. It's a surface ripened cheese, so it ripens from the outside in, and this is perfectly à point, as they call it, in that it's ripe the whole way through.
Wow, it's very strong.
It's wild. It's lovely kind of wild flavour. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that's the unpasteurisation. And complementing it is the Clos de Val Chardonnay 07. And this is just perfect because there's a lovely freshness of fruit there, with a lovely hint of oak, and it's just refreshing the palate. And I'd say once again, a wonderful wine with the turkey, but also a magnificent match with the cheese.
And that does go really nicely.
This works really well.
It really does.
I mean, the toast yolk of the wood is coming out in the wine, just delicious.
Because I was like, oh yes, I've tried Brie before, but that's in a different league, really, in terms of the taste.
It's a different cheese, you know. I mean, you'll see, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with a lot of Bries that you'll buy, but, you know, they're very firm in texture. They've got a downy white coat on the outside. They're sprayed with mould, essentially, whereas this develops naturally. And you'll see on the front of the cheese, it's got browny, whitey, pinky speckles. And that's what makes it, you know, what it is. It's got something quite a lot extra to what you'd usually buy.
And the thing that it has most obvious when it comes in through, it's got quite a pong. So,
I think everybody in the studio was kind of cursing me this morning.
And looking at everybody else uncomfortably. And Timmy, how would you store it? Like, once you have it on the cheese board, you have it on Christmas Day, and there's still some left over, what do you do next?
Well, I mean, usually the easiest thing is to just store it in, like, the vegetable compartment of the bottom of your fridge. Now, if you buy your cheese from a proper cheesemonger, somebody who's going to sell it over the counter, Sheridans, or one of our customers who we sell cheese to, or really anybody who's actually selling cheese from a counter rather than everything being pre-wrapped and wrapped in cling film. Then you can ask them to give you a little bit of extra cheese paper, and so when you unwrap it and rewrap it, that you're going to actually wrap it in that cheese paper. But also the trick is not to take the whole lot out of the fridge in one go. Take out what you need for the day, rather than taking out, half a wheel and then putting it back in the fridge. That temperature change is going to be what affects it and actually makes it go off quicker.
Great.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Shall we keep on going?
I was just going to say, God, you must really want the cheese if you're going to buy the whole wheel.
You'd be amazed. People do, and here's a Stilton at Christmas time. And
really?
Everything, yeah.
Just on the white, really nice
gorgeous,
as well, by the way.
Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the Clodagh Valley is one of the most famous producers in the Napa Valley, and that's just a little star, and it's wonderfully fresh and just perfect.
And this now instead is?
This is a Graham's LBV port, so late bottle vintage, and it's from the 03 vintage. And as I say, it's just classic, and it's won tons of awards, and it's a big gutsy port. And the beauty of this is it doesn't need to be decanted. And when you see a little trick here, when you see a stopper like this, it means that the port will keep for 2 to 3 weeks. Whereas if it has a draw cork that you take out the cork through, you should really drink within a day or 2 days of opening it. Whereas this one, you can set...
no problem.
So 2 to 3 weeks, not 2 to 3 years, but 2 to 3 weeks. So
great.
Just sip it over Christmas and really enjoy it. And this, Graham's is really one of the very, very best producers. And this came in at $13.99 in Tesco at the moment, which is
really good value.
It's like an unbelievable price in all fairness to it.
The flavour of that is just
astonishing.
outstanding.
And actually on the box here, you're going to see it has 2008 trophy for the most exceptional LBV port, 2008 double gold medal winner. So it's a pretty serious one, and the Symington family is behind it. It epitomises Christmas. You're 100% right, Olive. Epitomises it.
Now, the blue cheese, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you.
You're a little nervous.
Not liking this, but I haven't tasted, so...
Well, no, we'll see. I'm going to just use my fingies here, all natural, and you can
pass along.
This is very posh now.
You've given me...
Boards.
I know, a huge chunk there. You can
yes, I might be selective.
Would you like that?
Thank you very much.
We came for a day and stayed for a week.
This is it. Port and Stilton, for example, would be your really one of your absolute classic food matches. And it's somewhere where, wax a bit lyrical about this, but it's somewhere where you're not just having two things together that don't clash, which is in a lot of cases what happens when you're mixing food and wine, but it's where the port and the Stilton are coming together and actually creating a whole different lovely flavour. Now, just to say really quickly, I'm actually using Cashel Blue here in an effort to really support Irish. I wanted to use Cashel Blue, which would be an alternative to Stilton. Different flavours and a softer texture. But it's a very strong blue.
It's very strong. But
it is quite strong.
You get this wonderful party of salt and sweet from the port and the salt from the cheese. And it's magnificent. And say one of the little things I was going to say to people who are on the screen now, what I find about blue cheese is, and this is a genuine tip from me, is if you take a good chunk of blue cheese before you go to bed, you can sit back and you'll have hours of entertainment in your dreams. It's fantastic. I mean,
it must be the mould.
It must be the mould. My God, I sit back and I have hours of entertainment.
They do say that cheese before sleep isn't the best idea.
Particularly blue cheese for me, it really triggers something.
That's so specific.
Now, if you were to pick, one pairing out of the three we've done, which would you give the highest marks for people who might be, taking your advice here today?
Well, I thought actually that the Brie and the Chardonnay really did do quite well, but for me, for my own enjoyment, what I'd like to sit down with it would definitely be the Cashel Blue and the port.
Absolutely. But the thing about port, just to be a little bit wary, is if you're being generous, you actually port in quite a good pour, because quite often when you go to little restaurants, whatever, they give you a tiny little glass of that, which is wrong. I mean, you want to give it like a good pour, but do bear in mind it's 20% proof, so it's really quite strong.
Yeah.
So our biggest tip out there to everybody this Christmas is, if you're drinking wine, drink a good tumbler full of water for every glass of wine that you have, and respect the flavours and enjoy it and have a great time.
Well, great advice. Thank you so much, guys. Now, I might have to get you to stay so that we can get through this wheel of cheese
before the day is out.
But thank you so much for coming in. We'll have to have you back in again in the new year.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
David Whelan there and Elisabeth Ryan. And if you want any more information on any of the wines or cheeses, do email us theeveningshow@city.ie. Now we're going to take a quick break. In part 2, I'll be going backstage to visit some of the cast at the Gaiety Panto. See you after the break.